Hey, Composing Gloves here. This is another Music Theory Essentials video, and today we're going to be talking about the idea of intervals. So you just learned all about the triad in the previous video and how the triad's made, what it does, what its properties are. So you can make any major or minor triad based off of this. Well, we're going to talk about this idea of spacing them out. We're also going to talk about augmented and diminished. So first let's talk about augmented and diminished because it's a little more important as a concept. So let's say we've got right here a C major chord. So we have a C, an E, and a G, and it follows all the rules. Well, we have a perfect fifth here. Well, what happens if you flat a perfect fifth or you sharp a perfect fifth? What happens is you get this thing called augmented or diminished. So if you were to flat the third on our C major chord, you'd get a C minor chord, okay? But if you were to flat the fifth as well, you would now get, so if we were to flat that and flat this, you would now get a C diminished chord. That's what that little circle stands for, diminished, or you could write C dim. And now it's a diminished chord, so you would hear that sound. That sound is called the diminished chord. And so whenever you flat the third and the fifth, it's diminished. So whenever you lower a fifth, it's a diminished fifth. It's not a minor fifth, it's a diminished fifth. And then if you were to do the same thing except for you leave the third alone, so it's a C major chord, and then you sharp the fifth, this is called augmented. And it's represented by this little plus sign. Or you could write C aug, whichever one you want. And with a little dot. This is the C augmented chord, and so just so you know, this happens for any perfect interval. So you can have a augmented fourth or a diminished fourth and things like that. Just so you know, as we get into this, you're going to start seeing these things pop up. So that's just a real quick note, really important to know about. And then let's talk about this idea of intervals. So we know that our musical alphabet just keeps repeating. You have a C right here, and you have another C. So this is a C, and then this is a C. And if we were to go 2 up, that's a C. And we know that all these things are C's. So we could take these notes that form our chord, or C major chord, and we could still just use 3 notes, but we could move one note up an octave or down an octave. This is called inversions. And the amount of notes you have in your chord determines how many inversions you can have. So let's say, okay, we've got these C's right here. We like that sound, but we want a sort of a different sound, but we want all the same notes. We still want it to be a C major chord. So we say, okay, let's just leave the E and the G right where it is, but let's take this E and let's move it up to the next octave. So this is C first inversion. So it's still a C major chord, but it's now been inverted. The C is on top. So anyways, this is an inversion. This is the first inversion, and the third is on the bottom in the first inversion. Now you could have, you can move this E up an octave too, and just leave the G there. So if we have the G and the C and the E, this is the C major, but it's second inversion now. So this is the second inversion. And then if you remove this last one up, you can only have 2 inversions with 3 notes. So then it would just be a C major chord with C in the tonic. Now, I sort of lied. You can do something else to make your C and to make the different inversions. So now it's about to get crazy. We're breaking out 2 staves. This bottom one is our bass clef, and this top one's our treble clef. I'm assuming you've learned this stuff. So we have, so let's say we have our C major triad. When the third is in the bass, it does not matter what's up here. It only matters what the bottom note is. That determines the inversion. So when our third's in the bass, we know that it's a first inversion. So if we took this E and we put an E down here, now it is a third inversion C, regardless of whatever's going on up here. You have all sorts of notes up here that have to do with the C major chord, and it would still be a C. You'd have all these notes. You could have like a C over here and a G right here, and do all sorts of weird stuff. It would still be a C major first inversion. If you were to put the G in the bass, the very bottom note, now it is a C major second inversion because the fifth is in the bass. So just so you know, that is something that happens with inversions. And it gets important as you get into voicing and things, that this concept of the bottom note, because in sound design, I'm not sure, maybe this is a horrible analogy, maybe you don't know all that much about sound, but in sound you have, let's say this is our spectrum, this is time, this is our spectrum, so this is like our frequencies going up. And so whatever the bottom frequency is, so you could have all sorts of frequencies on your sound, but whatever the bottom one is, this is called the fundamental. This is the tone that you pretty much hear regardless of what this upper stuff is doing. I mean, the upper stuff does matter a lot, but this is the tone that you would associate with the note, that frequency. And so this is sort of the fundamental. And that's why it determines the inversion you're in. It provides that sound. Like this is the major sound texture change that goes on. Everything above it is some sort of multiple of this bottom note. So if you didn't understand that, that had to do with sound design. If you knew about sound design, then maybe you just had an aha moment. If you didn't, then don't worry about it. Just go off what I said before. And that's inversions. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And have a blessed day.